Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album War. So after the success of yesterday's battle between the Mahavishnu Orchestra and Return to Forever, we got a lot of people screaming for more of the same from the same two bands, two other albums. Specifically, I got a lot of requests for these two here, so we're going to put them to battle against each other. I'm missing my bell sound today. That's all right. We don't need that every single day. Anyway, so today we're going to look at the debut, 1971, from the Mahavishnu Orchestra, The Inner-Mounting Flame. Okay, a classic. And that's going to go up against Return to Forever's Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. This is actually the third album from Return to Forever, but the first album with the new fully electric band, now featuring Billy Connors on guitar and Lenny White on drums. This would be Billy's, or Bill or Billy, Mr. Connors' one and only album with Return to Forever. He would be replaced by Al Di Meola, a year and a half later. So in a sense, almost kind of first albums here from these two ensembles, all right? Were the first studio album from each lineup, all right? So we'll put it to that way. We had two releases of Return to Forever prior to this, more of like acoustic jazz, so to speak, with a little bit of electric instruments put together by Chick Corea, eventually formed into this beast, which would last for 4 albums. Okay, the fully electric Return to Forever. After, like I said, after Connors left, Al Di Meola came in. They released 3 other albums, whereas these guys, 2 studio albums. Okay, 3 if you want to count the Lost Trident sessions. All right. Also, you had the live album Between Nothingness and Eternity, all right, and then you had a total revamping of the lineup, and you had the Apocalypse album, and then a bunch of other great albums. So, but we may get to them in another time. So for today, let's take a look at these two. All right, I'll give you some little tidbits about each one, and then I'll tell you which one I like the best. So, all right, let's start with this one. So, this, it's funny. The first time I ever heard this album, I was, I believe, a sophomore. Is that a sophomore? Sophomore or junior? I think it was a sophomore in college in SUNY New Paltz. And I had a neighbor lived next door to me, a guy I like quite a bit, who was a deadhead, but he listened to a lot of cool jazzy music. And I remember one day we were over there hanging out, partaking in some stuff. That's about all I'll say there. And he was playing me some cool music that he had that was non-Dead music, because at the time I really was not into the Grateful Dead at all. I was a metalhead, right? And he's like, I think you might like this. And he put this album on. And I was like, wow, who and what is that? And that so this was probably like 1985. Kind of weird to think that I was, it took me till I was 19 years old to discover the music of John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra. But that's indeed the case, right? And I remember being completely blown away because, there's a lot of different shades and textures on this album, all right? A lot of really, savage, intense tunes that, bridged the gap between what we considered jazz and what was, kind of like hard rock. So, you got tunes like, Meeting of the Spirits and the incredible Noonward Race. What a frantic, heavy rockin' tune that is. What else? Awakening. But then you got this kind of gorgeous, mystical, almost kind of folky, classical world music type of thing. Very spiritual music. Dawn and A Lotus on Irish Streams. And then you got the dance of Maya. Little bits of funk too in places on this album. But the ripping guitar work, okay, jagged guitar work, speed of light guitar work of John McLaughlin, at times distorted, and other times he's got the lovely acoustic guitar, all right? You got the rumbling acrobatic drums of Billy Cobham, all right? You got Jan Hammer on mostly electric piano here. Rick Laird on bass, one of the tightest bass players ever. Guy gets totally overshadowed in this band, but man, was he rock solid, right? And then, of course, you've got Jerry Goodman on violin, another really great player, who, if memory serves me right, I think that Jerry was mostly like a blues and country player, right? And then gets thrown into this band. So, fantastic stuff. Wild compositions. It runs the gamut as far as styles and moods and things like that, but just really, really memorable tunes, explosive tunes, and just, you know, the kind of stuff that you like, the first time you hear it, your jaw's dropping, because it's like there was never anything like it before. Okay, it's a fantastic album. So let's go to 1973's Return to Forever, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. Again, you've got the lineup of Chick Corea. Let's see, what is it listing here? Electric piano, acoustic piano, organ, harpsichord, and gongs. All right, this is, I think, him exploring with all sorts of different synthesizers, right? Stanley Clarke on electric and acoustic bass, fuzz bass. Billy Connors on electric and acoustic guitar. And for the first time in this band, Lenny White on drums, percussion, and all sorts of funky things. Another really great album. All right, so here you got Chick Corea really, really experimenting with rock music for the first time, but with a lot of funk, okay, and a lot of Latin rhythms, okay, just really good stuff. And Billy Connors' guitar tone on here is really, really cool, really great, really meaty, okay, and his lead work on the electric, man, pretty stinging. Love it. And then you got, you know, of course, you got Stanley Clarke. And I love the ensemble work on here. One of the things I always loved about Return to Forever is the expert craftsmanship of their compositions, and how, you know, you got these four guys, such virtuosos, just really complementing each other quite well. So you got, you know, it kicks off with Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy, great tune, kind of a spacey feel to some of these songs as well. All right, because, you know, Chick was into the whole Scientology thing, and a lot of the kind of song titles and some of the passages and things. Hold on a second. Who's trying to call me? Nobody. Forget them. It's a junk call. I get these junk calls all day long. These robocalls, they got to end. Just fucking stop already. Jesus Christ, they get them all day long. Hopefully this stuff that's going on now, these new bills that are passing, will get rid of that. Next we got After the Cosmic Rain. So again, you get the kind of space age kind of song titles and what have you, and a lot of the arrangements and things, you know, kind of like try to portray that whole science fiction imagery, so to speak. Captain Senior Mouse, a classic from the band. A total classic. And again, there you have a lot of the kind of Latin rhythms and melodies and things like that. Theme to the Mothership, Parts 1 and Part 2. I love Space Circus. I mean, coming up next. Theme to the Mothership. That damn call just kind of set me off, all right? And then you had Space Circus, Part 1 and 2, and I love that. And in fact, I loved hearing like a future version of Return to Forever with Frank Gambale dipping into that song. Great, great stuff. And then, of course, the Game Maker, finishing it all off. Some really good kind of riffs and kind of musical ideas, and really like kind of tight passages. It's just a great ensemble work. One of the underrated gems of the Return to Forever catalog, I think, because I know Romantic Warrior gets a lot of credit. You know, No Mystery is great. You know, Where Have I Known You Before is my favorite. But this is kind of like, this is like the unsung hero of the Return to Forever catalog, in my opinion, you know, among the electric albums. And the other albums, the non-electric, more acoustic albums, are fine too for what they are, but I really like the four that they did with guitars. For me, it's just kind of really hits home with me. So, compare the two. What do you think, Pete? Well, love both of these, right? Big time. But for sheer kind of bombacity at times and sheer beauty at times and just ridiculous kind of way ahead of its time factor sort of thing, there's your winner for today. All right. I just, you know, this is the first Mahavishnu album I ever got into, and as much as I love Birds of Fire, and I think I mentioned this in yesterday's video, talking about Birds of Fire, it's like, you know, there are times where I like this album better than Birds of Fire. There's other times where I like Birds of Fire better. But I just think that the impact of this album is just tremendous. And as great as this one is, it's going to come in right about there for me. So here we're going to have this, you know, I don't know, probably a split decision. I'm not going to go a unanimous decision here, but I'm going to go, let's go 116, 113, all right, by boxing scores. Split decisions, 116, 113, 115, 114, and then, you know, maybe 115, 114, 115 in favor of this guy. So split decision here. I love them both, but I just think, man, this is like otherworldly. Whereas this is just damn great. This is just a gem of an album. Nothing like it. And, you could say the same for Birds of Fire. You could say the same for a lot of the Mahavishnu albums. They're all great, as well as the Return to Forever albums. For me, the two best fusion bands of all time right here. So kind of a tough choice for me every time I want to put them to battle because I love them both so much. But, I love each of the albums a little bit differently. So if we were to do, Apocalypse versus, Where Have I Known You Before tomorrow, maybe we will, maybe we won't. I'm not going to tell you which one I pick, but it's again, you start to think about all the possible matchups and some really great albums. But for today's battle between these two juggernauts, the inner mounting flame rises, like a phoenix, to take the win. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube often. Look for another classic album war tomorrow. Not quite sure what it'll be yet, but we'll see. A lot of great stuff coming up, folks. All right. We got... I'll be on Jeff Young's Music Without Boundaries radio show on Tuesday, jeffyoungjams.com. Jeff will be on my show doing a top 10 songs for 10cc. I've got in the works, should be recording it next week, I hope, Near Fest Memories. So if you're anybody here in the U.S. or maybe you're outside the U.S. who had attended from 1999 through the late, when was the last one? 2010, 2011, 2010? Was it? Something like that? Anyway, there were 10 of them, right? Near Fest Northeast Art Rock Festivals in Bethlehem, New York. A couple were in Trenton, New Jersey. I was at the first 7 of them. And I have a lot of cool memories from those years because actually today is the 20th. Yeah, it's today. I think today is the 20th anniversary of day one of the very first Near Fest in 1999, and I was there. And a lot of great memories. So a very close friend of mine who attended a lot of them with me is going to be guesting on my show next week. And we're going to just talk Near Fest memories for, 45 minutes or so. Talk about a lot of the great bands we saw, a lot of the great sets, a lot of the crazy shenanigans that went on all over the place in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in between all these wonderful 3 days of nonstop music and progressive rock bands and all that kind of great stuff. It was, I'm just always so thankful and happy that I experienced all those festivals for all those years in a row. And I've got a lot to talk about. My buddy and I are going to just sit and just reminisce about all the great Near Fests from 1989 through to, I think my last one that I went to was 2006. So, and he was with me for a good portion of them. So we'll have a lot of stories to tell. So if you want to hear cool stories about Bonko and Porcupine Tree and Mastermind and IQ and Spock's Beard and Solaris and Anglo-Guard and, Flower Kings and meeting Rich Williams from Kansas and, all sorts of Annie Haslam from Renaissance and Roger Dean, who drew all the Yes artwork, and so many great stories and people, right? So we're going to talk about all that. That's coming up next week. So don't touch that dial. We'll see you real soon. Lots of great content coming up. And for all of you here in the U.S., we got the 4th of July holiday, and I'm sure everybody's going to be taking time off and stuff next week. So everybody enjoy. You'll get some more well wishes from me next week, but a lot of fun times, summer times for everybody coming up. So we'll see you real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.